Hello, I'm Srijana, and I'm honored to share this amazing epic with you. The Bhagavad Gita is the story of a battle in the 3D matrix of the mind. It is an ancient foundation of Hindu philosophy that describes the laws of nature and outlines a path to ascension for all humans. This chapter is about transcendental knowledge. In chapter 4, the Gita begins to challenge our 21st century thinking. Earlier chapters are straightforward and general, so you might think it's good enough to go by. However, now, from this point on through chapter 18 of the Gita, the lessons become more refined in that they pinpoint every single one of our modern misconceptions about a true path to ascension. So, although this challenges some of my preconceptions, just listen to it like a story. Once upon a time, in a faraway land, gods ruled the earth, and all learning took place in the form of stories and sacred verses that people memorized and passed down with each generation. As the Gita opens, the warrior prince Arjuna and his chariot driver, the god Krishna, gaze over a vast battlefield as he prepares to wage war on his entire family. The virtuous Pandava brothers must vanquish their evil Kaurava cousins. Thousands of warriors from both sides stand poised to fight to the death. The hero, Arjuna, is torn between duty to fight a righteous battle versus the horror of killing the people he loves. Arjuna refuses to fight. Krishna reveals the secrets of knowledge, how to carry out actions in a higher frame of mind in which he will not incur sin or karma. Ultimately, Arjuna accepts his destiny to fight this righteous war, and his brothers win. They all ascend to the heavenly realms. The Gita reveals the laws of nature that have always been and always will be. They are none other than the laws of science, religion, life, death, good, and evil. These laws are one and can never be divided. We're doing our best here to translate from Sanskrit, the sacred language of the gods. Its sounds and utterances are designed to uplift and teach. We're translating into English, our favorite mongrel language of everyday life. In chapter 4, Krishna explains the sacred chain of essential teachings that passes from one era to another directly from its original source, Almighty God. These teachings hold the truths of nature, but whenever the chain breaks, if the lineage of truth is broken, or the laws of nature are forgotten, and the people suffer, God personally comes to earth. He comes with the purpose of upholding what is right, to deliver the devoted souls, to annihilate the criminals, and to reestablish the scientific principles of nature. It's interesting that he comes whenever righteousness falters and chaos threatens to prevail, like a crack in the foundation of reality, which pretty well describes the world situation now. We all desire greater levels of happiness and satisfaction. Hindu mythology assumes 14 realms or levels of awareness. These views of heaven and hell are particularly relevant to me now because we see these qualities rising and falling in ourselves and in the people around us. The 7 higher realms start with the earthly realm, moving up to lighter realms of thought and spirit, and finally up to the purest godly, the realms of the gods, and finally to the ultimate God, where there is nothing but infinite joy and love. The 7 hellish realms start descending from earth with desire for pleasure and avoiding pain, emotions like anger, passions, and going down, down, down into much deeper levels of fear, vast wealth, the abode of evil and total illusion where you are trapped forever. It is important during your life on earth that you try to move upward, not fall downward, to balance your worldly duties with your goal of moksha, or spiritual freedom. That means your lessons here are finished and you finally merge in union with God, ending the cycle of birth and death. The transcendental knowledge and the secret of freedom is to do actions without emotional attachment to their results, and to work as an offering in service to God. Then you are working not for your own gain, but selflessly for the benefit of others and all, thereby untying the knots of karma. There are many appropriate forms of work, ritual, or offerings as sacrifice, and they are all good, Krishna says. The transcendental knowledge is the most powerful tool. He says, why would you want to die over and over again many times? Why do you want to suffer the same questions over and over? Why focus on temporary happiness when you can have permanent happiness with me, enjoying this loving exchange eternally forever? God will never push it down your throat. He inspires you with love and devotion to soften your heart, to help you win in the battle of the skeptical, doubting mind. He says, if you surrender to serve me, I will reciprocate with you to that degree. The greater your love and service, the more he is there for you. He says, I live right there in your heart, because without me, you could never function. Your intelligence and senses would be blind without my super intelligence guiding your inner soul. He says, those who fully understand my power are free from desire, fear, and anger. Being fully absorbed in me, they do not have to take birth again, but join me in my eternal abode. However, those are not modern Western concepts. To most of us, the idea of surrendering yourself to God is uncomfortable. Let's take a look at that. What would it feel like to surrender yourself to God? To offer all of your actions as a sacrifice to the higher force of good? Does it feel like melting? Does it feel like dissolving or losing control? Is it frightening to lose the illusion of power over your own life? But of course, we never had that power anyway. What exactly are we giving up to dissolve into God? Well, the idea of melting away is quite frightening. Is that like dying? However, in many ways, we do that every day. But what about my goals, my thoughts? What is the root of my existence? What pillars hold me? When all is chaos around me, what can I rely on? In modern times, skepticism is considered a sign of intelligence, of discernment, and independent thinking, and sometimes that is true. But the Gita says that skepticism and doubt are your worst enemy. Think of an Olympic athlete. The least bit of skepticism or doubt can mean the difference between success and failure. And this is true in every endeavor. For some, it is their love for God that sustains them, and that is all they need. When you are rooted in God, then God, not you, is the creator and the doer of the actions. God is the action itself and the receiver of the action at the same time. Think about it. Think well, as the future of our world may hang on this question. Chapter 4 outlines the principles of essential action, non-action, and wrong action. Essential or right actions are done to maintain the harmony and well-being of society and all creation. God says you should never be fixated on the results of your actions or even think that you are the doer. Any event has more to do with the laws of physics, destiny, velocity, intention, karma, momentum, critical mass, power, and timing. These are the complex, energetic factors that rule the cosmos far more than human action. God says that one who lives by this transcendental knowledge can discriminate between proper actions and wrong actions. He acts from a serenity, not swayed by emotions. This sets him free from the bonds of karma for his actions. With this you escape the trap of desiring fame or money, and your mind is stable in union with God. By doing your work as an offering or sacrifice, you are freed from all karma that would otherwise be incurred if you act out of anger or desire for gain. The Gita says you can look for a proper teacher to answer your questions rather than speculate or be confused. When you notice doubts arise in your mind out of ignorance, you should slash them with a powerful weapon of knowledge. Then Krishna tells Arjuna again to stand up and fight. A few words to know. Yoga Maya is the power of original creation, the power by which God says he exists. Yoga means discipline. It's not a New Age concept. It is a careful pursuit of an inner path of personal refinement and ascension, not movement. Krishna calls Arjuna several names, such as Parantapa, the scorcher of foes, the son of Prita, who is his legendary queen mother, and Parth, meaning devoted student. As you hear these verses, I invite you to ponder a few questions. How can one discern the difference between appropriate actions and wrong actions? What does God mean for you? What does it mean and how does it feel to surrender your life in service to God? What are the rewards of devoting your actions in service to a higher force of truth? What are your favorite quotes from Chapter 4 to remember for life lessons? What parallel events in the modern world illustrate these concepts? Now, I will try to read all the verses in Chapter 4. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna said, I taught this eternal science of yoga to Vivasvan, the sun god, who passed it on to Manu, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku. O subduer of enemies, the saintly kings thus received this science of yoga in a continuous tradition. But with the long passage of time, it was lost to the world. The same ancient knowledge of yoga, which is the supreme secret, I am today revealing unto you, because you are my friend, as well as my devotee, who can understand this transcendental wisdom. Arjuna said, You were born much after Vivasvan, the sun god. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him? The Supreme Lord said, Both you and I have had many births, O Arjuna. You have forgotten them, while I remember them all, O Parantapa. Although I am unborn, the Lord of all living entities, and am of imperishable nature, yet I appear in this world by virtue of Yogamaya, my divine power. Whenever there is a decline in righteousness and an increase in unrighteousness, O Arjun, at that time I manifest myself on earth. To protect the righteous, to annihilate the wicked, and to reestablish the principles of truth and duty, I appear on this earth age after age. Those who fully understand the divine nature of my birth and activities, O Arjun, upon leaving the body do not have to take birth again, but join me in my eternal abode. Being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, becoming fully absorbed in me, and taking refuge in me, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they attained my divine love. In whatever way people surrender unto me, I reciprocate with them accordingly. Everyone follows my path, knowingly or unknowingly, O son of Parita. In this world, those desiring success in material activities worship the celestial gods, since material rewards manifest quickly. The 4 categories of occupations were created by me, according to people's qualities and activities. Although I am the creator of this system, know me to be the non-doer and eternal. Activities do not taint me, nor do I desire the fruits of action. One who knows me in this way is never bound by the karmic reactions of work. Knowing this truth, even seekers of liberation in ancient times performed actions. Therefore, following the footsteps of those ancient sages, you too should carry out your duty. What is action and what is inaction? Even the wise are confused in determining this. Now I shall explain to you the secret of action, which by knowing you may free yourself from material bondage. You must understand the nature of all 3: recommended action, wrong action, and inaction. The truth about these is profound and difficult to understand. Those who see action in inaction and inaction in action are truly wise among humans. Although they may perform all kinds of actions, they are yogis and masters of all their actions. The enlightened sages call those persons wise whose every action is free from the desire for material pleasures and who have burnt the reactions of work in the fire of divine knowledge. Such people, having given up attachment to the fruits of their actions, are always satisfied and not dependent on external things. Despite engaging in activities, they do not do anything at all. Free from the expectations or the sense of ownership, with mind and intellect fully controlled, they incur no sin, even though performing actions by the body. Content with whatever gain comes of its own accord, and free from envy, they are beyond the dualities of life. Being established in equanimity in success and failure, they are not bound by their actions, even while performing all kinds of activities. They are released from the bondage of material attachments, and their intellect is established in divine knowledge. Since they perform all actions as a sacrifice, they are freed from all karmic reactions. For those who are completely absorbed in God consciousness, the object offered is Brahman. The ladle with which it is offered is Brahman. The act of offering is Brahman, and the sacrificial fire is also Brahman. Such persons who view everything as God easily remain with him. Some yogis worship the celestial gods with material offerings to them. Others worship perfectly offering the self as sacrifice in the fire of supreme truth. Others offer hearing and other senses in the sacrificial fire of restraint. Still others offer sound and other objects of the senses as sacrifice in the fire of the senses. Some, inspired by knowledge, offer the functions of all their senses and their life energy in the fire of the controlled mind. Some offer their wealth as sacrifice, while others offer severe austerities as sacrifice. Some practice the eightfold path of yogic practices, and yet others study the scriptures while observing strict vows and cultivate knowledge as sacrifice. Still others offers as sacrifice the exhaling breath into the inhale, while some offer the inhale into the exhale. Some arduously practice pranayama to restrain the inhale and exhale, purely absorbed in observing the life energy. Yet others limit their food and offer their breath into the life energy as sacrifice. All these knowers of sacrifice are cleansed of their impurities as a result of such actions. Those who know the secret of sacrifice and engaging in it partake of its gifts like sweet nectar, advance toward absolute truth. O best of the Kurus, those who perform no sacrifice find no happiness either in this world or the next. All these different kinds of sacrifice are described in the Veda scriptures. Know them as originating from different types of work. This knowledge cuts through the knots of material bondage. O subduer of enemies, sacrifice performed in this knowledge is superior to any mechanical physical sacrifice you might give. After all, O Parth, all sacrifices of work culminate in knowledge. Learn the truth by finding a spiritual master. Ask him questions with reverence. Offer him service. Such an enlightened saint can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. Following this path, and having achieved enlightenment from a teacher, O Arjun, you will no longer fall into delusion. In the light of that knowledge, you will see that all living beings are but parts of the Supreme and are within me. Even those who are considered the most immoral of all sinners can cross over this ocean of physical existence by seating themselves in the boat of divine knowledge. As a burning fire reduces wood to ashes, O Arjun, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all karma and reactions from material activities. In this world, there is no power as purifying as divine knowledge. One who has attained purity of mind through prolonged practice of yoga receives such knowledge within the heart in due course of time. Those whose faith is deep and who have practiced controlling their mind and senses achieve divine knowledge. Through such transcendental knowledge, they quickly attain everlasting supreme peace. But persons who possess neither faith nor knowledge, and who are of a doubting nature, suffer a downfall. For skeptical souls, there is no happiness either in this world or the next. O Arjun, actions do not bind those who have renounced karma in the fire of discipline, whose doubts have been dispelled by knowledge, and who are established in the understanding of the self. Therefore, with the sword of knowledge, Cut asunder the doubts that have arisen in your heart. O scion of Bharat, establish yourself in Karma Yoga. Arise, stand up, and take action.